Elon Musk seems to have backed down after his poll asking if he should step down as Twitter CEO, which he promised to abide by the results of, saw a majority vote for him to take a hike. And his latest tweet suggests that he has no intention of doing so. Instead, he said, no one wants a job who can actually keep Twitter alive. So, therefore, there is no successor. Joining me now is Sky News contributor James McPherson and Federal Liberal Party Vice President Tina McQueen. Thank you so much for joining us here. James McPherson, over to you first. How's Elon doing, and should he step down?
I think Elon is doing great. He's having a wonderful time trolling everybody. Elon's a lot of things, but he's certainly not stupid. There's no way he will continue to be the CEO of Twitter. He'll hand over at some stage. And so I think his poll was a great way to generate publicity, have some fun with people, and he wins either way. If he goes because people said he should go, then he's a man of his word. And if people say he should stay but he goes, well, then he's a man who doesn't need power. So I think he's having fun with everybody.
Tina, having fun, massive troll. I don't know if you're much of a tweeter, but how do you think he's gone so far?
I read them, I don't write.
You read them,
because
you don't
I
write.
promised my daughter, if I went on Twitter and commented, she's fearful I'd end up in jail, James. So I enjoy reading them, but I don't contribute.
But have you found that, since he took over, that what you're seeing is better?
It's been magnificent. It's been a great change. Twitter needed Elon Musk. No, he's been fabulous for Twitter. But like you said, I don't think there is a successor, and I think he's really laying down the ground rules for Twitter. And no, he's doing a great job. Stay there. And as James said, he's having a bit of fun.
Well, speaking of Twitter, though, how concerned do we need to be, James McPherson, over the reports of very close ties, indeed, between federal law enforcement, the FBI, and not just Twitter, but all social media? We saw today there was another drop of these so-called Twitter files, which Michael Schellenberger, who you've seen on this network a fair bit, spells out just how close the FBI and Twitter worked together to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. How concerned are you about that?
Well, it's very concerning. I mean, Schellenberger pointed out that in 2020 there were so many former FBI staffers working at Twitter, they had a little spreadsheet to keep track of themselves. I mean, clearly they worked to suppress a story they didn't like, which effectively, you could argue, helped to manipulate an election result. I mean, Vladimir Putin himself couldn't dream of having such influence on a foreign election, and we're seeing more of this as politicians talk about clamping down on extremism and the need to monitor social media networks. This is a problem that needs to be closely monitored because governments will take advantage of circumstances to, as we've seen, suppress things they don't like.
And Tina, I mean, you work in politics. How concerned are you that efforts under the guise of doing nice things like fighting extremism really wind up being about shifting the needle on what people can and cannot say and see in these sort of virtual town squares? It's
very dangerous. It's incredibly dangerous. And the Liberal Party understands that. I think we should be more fearful under Labor governments that, they're more likely to take action against these, against people contributing in ways they don't like. So, yeah, it's disgraceful what the FBI did. They should have no place in these social platforms to try and influence anything.
Now, we had some breaking news. I agree with you 100%, by the way, on that. But we've had some breaking news this afternoon. Just before we came on set, the Essendon Football Club, I can say that, has reached an agreement with Andrew Thorburn and apologized to him for their handling of his appointment to the club's chief. Now, you recall earlier this year, this was a man who stepped down as chief executive just less than a day. I think it was 20 hours in the job, due to his links to a church where some speakers had, oh my God, conservative views about the Bible. Tina, what do you make about this? I mean, is this a worthy end to this? And will we finally start to see an end to this thing where people's private beliefs are disqualifying them from jobs in the public square? No,
sadly, I don't think it's going to be an end to it. This is a good outcome for him. I'm sure he's received a nice payout, but no, it should never happen in the first place. He should never have to go through it. But I fear that different woke companies and sporting clubs will continue to demonise people who have beliefs contrary to them or the clubs they represent.
And I mean, James McPherson, you've thought and written a lot about this sort of thing. The dangerous message I think that an awful lot of people got from this is essentially, Christians especially don't have a place in the public square in Australia anymore. What do you say to that?
There's a couple of things on this. Firstly, it's a pity it took a legal settlement for the Essendon Football Club to agree that in an inclusive society, Christians should be included. It's a pity it took a legal settlement to agree to that.
Yeah.
Second of all, I wonder if Andrew Thorburn will get an apology from Daniel Andrews, who described his views as, quote, appalling. And these are views that are shared by conservative Christians right across the country. But third, and to your point, even though there's a settlement here, the problem is a message has been sent. It's well been noted that sometimes the process is the punishment. And so Andrew Thorburn may have received an apology, but he's been through months of hell. He's been defamed in the public square. He's now without any roles. He's taken a year off to sort of gather himself. And so the message has clearly been sent. If you hold these views, then you will be a target. And I agree with what Tina says. We're going to see more of this, sadly.
But James, there are also extreme right views that none of us will condone, you know. So Christian, fine, wonderful if you keep it to that, but you know, both left and right do have extreme that we have to knock out and ignore. I'm not saying that this was the case in this circumstance, but we are aware that there are extreme views on both sides.
Well, of course, but nobody's saying here, Tina, that he even promulgated any extreme view. He was just a member of a church where somebody had posted something on a website. I mean,
they weren't even his thoughts.
And
you know.
this is the thing that I found absolutely fascinating about this is, you know, we had seen the whole thing with Israel Folau, and people had made a case and said, well, you know, he put that out there publicly, actively, so you could make the case that he was in violation of some sort of clause. This, though, James McPherson, this was stuff that was his own private, personal confession, or the confession of somebody in an organization he was a member of.
It was guilt by association. He never said anything about abortion or about sexuality. It was simply the fact that he went to a church where someone had preached a sermon, and so it was guilt by association. And they ignored the fact that at the NAB, where he was the chief officer, he'd been an absolute champion of LGBTQ diversity.
Well, I mean, isn't that the case, though, then, that you can never be woke enough? Because at NAB, didn't he, who's one of the guys who actually sponsored some of those early Pride rounds, he did all the right things.
He did all the right things, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a shame, but that's how the world is. And, you know, hopefully it'll adjust and not get worse, James.
Well, you know, your lips to God's ears, but, you know, we'll see where we wind up on all of this. I want to go to something funny, though, and light to wrap this up. Well, not light, actually, because there has been a call for fat Santas to be banned from shopping centres. Australian health and wellness expert Vincent Candrawinata says fat Santas promote binge eating. Tina, calling Santa fat and wanting it banned, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
I love fat Santas. It's the only time I feel petite when I sit on a fat Santa's neck, James, let me tell you. So, you know, keep them fat. Look, they're jolly, jolly men. I know my grandchildren would be devastated if they had to sit on some puny, skinny little Santa's knee. No, we need big, fat, healthy ones.
James, fat Santas for Christmas?
I'm so confused. I thought fat shaming was wrong. I mean, plus-size models are good, but plus-size Santas are somehow wrong now. And I mean, how can you have a skinny Santa? Someone worked out online that if Santa ate everything that children left out for him on Christmas Eve, he would consume 38 billion calories. But he can still get down chimney, so he's doing just fine.
He does eat everything, James.
Well, I think you should leave him a celery stick and a glass of water after this story.
Well, I saw that the great Babylon Bee website suggested that actually dads will be out there saying, no, kids, what Santa really wants is whiskey and cigars. So who knows about that? Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, James McPherson, Tina McQueen. Very Merry Christmas to both of you.